Hi everyone. Thank you for coming to my talk. This is my first talk ever, so I'm kind of scared right now. But with so many friendly faces, I'm sure we can handle this. So my name is Michał Amielańczyk. I'm the comms manager for Mechanistry. We are a 13-person studio from Poland. We're scattered all around the country. So we've been working remotely since before COVID made that cool. Our one and only game, Timberborn, the Beaver City Builder, has recently passed the 1 million copies sold mark. And that's why we're here today, to talk about what we did to achieve that, aside from making a damn good game. But first, the obligatory About Me slide. That's me. I've been with the company for the past 3 years, so I joined the company a little more than a year before we released Timberborn into early access. So it was me taking care of all the marketing, public relations, community management stuff that we had. And before that, I lived a simple life of a game and IT journalist for several Polish outlets. And here's a little bit of useless personal trivia. I spent 30 hours picking a Baldur's Gate 3 character. This is me in a more sexy version. And about Timberborn. In case you don't know it, Timberborn is a city builder featuring 2 unique factions of beavers. We've got water physics and terraforming. You are able to terraform the entire map, and the water that is on the map will adjust to that. And we also have the vertical architecture, so you are able to stack the buildings atop one another. And we have the deadly droughts, because Timberborn is a post-apocalyptic game. You're playing on Earth that has no more humans on it, but the troublesome legacy of humans remains, and that's the droughts, and soon the toxic waste. Timberborn has been in early access for a little over 2 years now. As I said, we've reached the 1 million copies sold mark, and that's after the refunds. We have got 4 major updates behind us, with the 5th one coming soon. It was basically released onto the experimental branch last week, so if you want to check it out, go to our Steam. But I'll talk a bit about the experimental branch in a moment. 1.0 version is coming when it's ready. Because of the number of copies sold, we're in this very comfortable situation where we can just wait until we think the game is ready for the release. So what I'm going to do today, I will go through the 5 stages of our marketing and related efforts. That's us putting the game on the map for everyone, then the preparations in the final year, the mess or the glorious chaos that was the launch week, and what we've been doing ever since, which is releasing the major updates and trying to keep the sales up between those updates. So our story began in October 2019 with a usual set of things like publishing the store page, going public with Discord, setting up our social media channels. The game had been in development for a quite while back then, but it was mostly just friends and family thing. In October 2019, we made it available to everyone in form of an open alpha. And we tried to get the world to notice us. So we've tried to reach out to the influencers, hoping they would cover the game for free. And they did, even though it looked like this. It's not that pretty, but we strongly believe that you shouldn't wait too long before publishing your store page and getting the wish lists in, the followers, and getting the feedback, because since the alpha began, we allowed everyone to join it. And back then, it was, I think, it was on Discord, and we were gathering feedback, preparing for the actual release, or actual early access release. To be very brief about the first year, we had the open alpha running, then we replaced it with a closed beta that required an invitation. With it came a full redesign. What you can see on the screen is the vertical architecture. This is something that was not supposed to be in the actual game, but when we came up with it, people liked it so much that we decided to make it one of our USPs. And this is when we started building up our Discord server, because our Discord was the main way of getting the beta keys for the game. We also had something called we called Beaver Brainstorms. I think this was the first thing I did for the company, actually. We were running the thematic discussions focused on stuff like what kind of a Beaver faction would you like to see, what would you like to do with the water physics, what is the game missing. And it actually helped us create the set of features that we had for the early access release. Oh, and we started playing with the ads. Back then it was Facebook ads. We really liked how they allowed us to target the audience and measure the results. Right now, I would not recommend Facebook as an ad tool, but back then it was quite effective. We do not have RTX. So the first year, the key takeaways from the first year were that influencers like our game, the ads work for us, and people like what they see in the game. However, we had no real press coverage, we had no viral social posts, and the first year ended with 17,000 wishlists, so that was an okay result, but we hoped for more. And this is what was my main task in the final year leading up to the early access release. In October 2022, we made a huge fresh restart, so to speak. We updated the game to finally include the missing USP in form of water physics. And our Beaver game had finally received dams, which was quite important, I guess. We also got our first trailer with the key art you can see on the right. I'm not sure if this is this version, but I think our final version, I think this is the one. The second beaver on the left looks like Donald Trump for some reason. With that in hand, we decided to do a press reach out from scratch. We basically treated the press as if they didn't hear about the game at all. So I was just contacting them, pretending it's a brand new game that they should cover. In a similar vein, we also tried a wider influencer reach out, and we tried to go viral. I'm not sure if this is viral, but it was kind of satisfying to see that we could at least get some attention from the indie devs and indie game fans on Reddit. And we also reached the front page of Wykop. If you're Polish, I know what you're thinking, but back then it wasn't as successful that it is now. We also made the beta key distribution kind of an organized process. We used Woovit and Keymailer, which I will cover a little bit later. And we also continued our ad test, this time with Twitter and Reddit, which didn't work out. The real breakthrough came to us with the Steam Next Fest, which is true for many indie devs. It happened in January 2021, when we had a public demo replace our closed beta a week ahead of the Steam Next Fest. We updated the game for that. Basically, our beavers no longer looked like a sack of potatoes with legs. They actually started resembling beavers. We updated the UI, we added the tutorial, we had all basic features in with the extra features grayed out so that people knew that this isn't just it. We had the hard to miss in-game buttons for wish lists, for feedback, and we had this easy to share and go. That turned out to be easy to cheat as well. The idea was that the player was supposed to survive 2 droughts and they would see this sexy screen. But we weren't aware of the fact that people would so easily edit the saves to keep playing on the first cycle. So they would play for hundreds of hours on a single save. But hey, if they liked it, that was also a good sign. How did we support the demo? we had our first sponsored influencers. You will see that as a recurring theme in this presentation. We think that the influencers are the best choice for our game, which I will cover in a moment. And we finally had our viral moment of fame on Imager. You may remember that a few years ago this was praised as one of the sources of the traffic that you could get for your game. But maybe because of that, they changed the algorithm and it is no longer as cool as it was. So if your game doesn't have a bit of cuteness in form of cats playing with each other, I'm not sure if we can easily reach the front page again. We also had a looped live stream on Steam. We had the regional Facebook ads because we added the language versions to the demo, and we tried to cover all the regions with the ads. And in the result, we ended up with the third most played demo of the event. We had about 100,000 players, and this brought us 91,000 wishlists in 21 days. So you can probably imagine the effect this had on the team after the first year that gained us 17,000, and then in 3 weeks we get that many. So yeah, our viral post was this very classic, hey, we're poor devs, we're making this game, come show us some love, and it worked. We had some pre-launch beats as well, nothing as spectacular as the Steam Next Fest, but still. We somehow were involved in the E3. We weren't supposed to be, but we applied for this Future Games Show showcase because the press didn't really give a shit about us before that. They took us in. We were part of this virtual show floor when the game was shown for, I think, 15 seconds maybe. But still, with the Steam sales page, it brought us 7,000 wishlists. We also tried the ad tests because we had something resembling a trailer. We tried running the ads on YouTube, which became our new go-to tool. We also tried other Steam events, such as the World Nature Conservation Sale, which was an event created by one of the fellow devs, but it was also very effective in getting us the wish lists. What the hell? Oh yeah, that's me. So for us, the main period of preparations for launch began 3 weeks ahead when we announced the release date at Gamescom. This time it was a sponsored segment at PC Gaming Show. And 2 hours later, which is stupid, but this is how it happened, we had another segment at another Gamescom event. This one was focused on revealing the second faction, which is weird considering the release date trailer shown 2 hours earlier also had that second faction. But for some reason, this free event hosted by IGN yielded much better results, and my face was on the IGN channel exposed to, I think, 200,000 views. So that's not perfect. Still, 70,000 wishlist is nothing to scoff at. In the final week, we had those 7 daily posts showing off the various features of the game, including something as sexy as UI and localizations. This kept the ball running, so it was really good for our wishlist growth in the final week. We also had the YouTube ads with the day trailer. We reached out to the VIP press and influencers, so those that we hoped would cover the game at launch. We reached out to them, sending them the press keys and promising the awesome stuff that will happen. And we gained 32,000 wishlists in the final week. This is how this looks from the very start till the very end. I had to cut off at the Steam Next Fest part because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see anything. So these are the key bits that we have. We could already see the trend that the Steam sales were the best tool for us to gain the wishlist. and this solidified our approach that we want Steam to be our main channel. And going forth from that point, we've been focusing our marketing efforts on Steam only or almost only. I think right now our sales are 95% on Steam. So we are just a purely Steam game. But this is nothing surprising considering that Steam is a platform that is friendly to games like ours, so city builders, strategies, simulators. The end result was this, 261,000 wishlists at launch. And we needed to work with that when we launched the game. This is us getting all happy about clicking the release the game button. Actually, this photo should have Jason Momoa creeping up behind us because we chose 4 p.m. as a release hour, which seemed like a good idea because we thought that we would release the game, go to a dinner, and have a nice evening. But the launch button broke. And then we realized that 4 p.m. in Poland is not exactly a good time in the US to contact their support reps. So after 30 minutes of crying and trying to find a solution, we've somehow contacted one of the Steam reps, and they actually released the game for us. This wasn't perfect because we ordered an influencer campaign with sponsored segments. This is the size of influencer we chose. We basically tried to get a good mix of medium-sized to big ones. I mean, big in an indie sense. And we learned that we shouldn't try to sign the contract as late as 2 weeks before launch. I think the final contract that we signed for launch was 3 days before the launch. So don't do that. We also had the Twitch bounties campaign at 10,000 USD, and I'll cover that in a moment as well. Yeah, I think that's Sips streaming the game. As part of our launch efforts, we also had a press release, which was picked up by Polygon, PC Gamer, and Kotaku. On the left, you can see the very basic email I was sending to them. We didn't want to go with anything fancy. It's just some links, some short description, the Steam key in the second paragraph, a GIF that shows the game, how it is being played so that the reader can instantly see what we are talking about, and some bullet points to let them know what Timberborn is about. And after that initial pickup, and after the game success was quite visible, more media were picking us up. So it's kind of sad, but also great that they did in the end, because when we contacted them initially, they just ignored us. But as soon the game got into the top sellers, they suddenly noticed us. So the key parts we think that were important for that reach out was having that simple email with a GIF. It was personalized. We had the Steam keys coming in the second paragraph. We had the easy to access press kit with the trailer, screenshots. Basically, we wanted to make sure that the media that typically doesn't give a damn about indie games can pick up the Timberborn as easily as possible. As I said before, we distributed the Steam keys to the large media and creators before that, just promising them the early access. We used the Steam override keys, release override keys. Steam warns the devs to use them sparingly, but this is when you want to do that. We also used Wivit and Keymailer. And we learned the hard way that Steam creators are a scam. That's our experience at least, but I think 9 out of 10 requests coming from curators were scam. We tried to use the official Curator Connect thing on Steam, and I think we sent about 100 invitations to cover the game. I'm not sure if we even got 5 curator reviews. So these are the results. I mean, the rightmost number is the result. As soon as we saw that the game is a success, we allocated the extra budget towards more influencers. We dropped more money on Twitch bounties. We were working 24/7 to try to get more individual influencers and agencies to pick up the game before the weekend. And this paid off. I think I remember I sent my last email at 1 a.m. on Saturday, but it was a good choice because this resulted in a huge sales peak during the weekend, and 140,000 copies sold within the first week. To celebrate that, we prepared a thank you for the explosive launch post because we knew that this is something that would be up on the store page for a long time before we get to do something else that would be worthy of a front page on Steam. And also because we didn't have a roadmap. I know it's a controversial choice, but we do not have a roadmap. The roadmap is actually a forbidden word in our company, at least when I'm trying to talk about something. What we have, however, is something that we stole, or I'm sorry, we borrowed from the Rift Breaker guys, which is the feature upvote. It's a very bare bones site, but it's easy to use, and it allows you to track the bugs and the suggestions from players. Haha. So now I'll go to the more interesting part about the actual sales. This is the graph that shows our sales since launch until I think yesterday. As you can probably see or not, U1, U2, I love Bono, U3 and U4 are the major updates that we had, and those mark the spikes in sales on top of the usual seasonal spikes on Steam. I'll discuss more of that in a moment, so don't worry. Yeah. So why do we choose to go with the major updates route? For update 1, it was an obvious choice because we wanted to set the expectations. We are not going live with updates too often. The first one came 3 months in, just in time for holidays. It brought some of the features that were not ready for the early access launch, but also some features that were driven by the initial feedback. And this is also where we set the 20% discount for the first time. And this is something that we've been keeping with for the past 2 years, because this is the email threshold for Steam. As soon as your discount is 20%, people that have your game on your wish list will receive the email. This is also when we did something called experimental branch. I'll discuss that in a moment too. And from then on, we've always had a live stream app on the store page, and I highly recommend you do that as well. For example, using the Restream.io service. I'm not affiliated with them, but I really enjoy the fact that it allows us to have the stream running 24/7. I think the current stream has been up since May, I think. So it works. And about the experimental branch, which is part of the major updates only approach for us. Even though only about 10% of our players use it, it helps us excite the other 90%, as well as build hyped up content for the new players. It's very useful when you want to gather serious feedback, because the 10% of the players that use it are actually the most engaged players. Sorry. And it helps you avoid many pitfalls. It's also an extra announcement material, because it allows us to hype up people for the content that is not ready for the main branch release, but it's as hyped as that. However, by doing this, this steals the main announcement thunder, and it makes it difficult to market. We've tried marketing the experimental branch content. It didn't work well. It's also a problem when you try to offer exclusivity to the media, because our approach is that we want to test the content first with the players, but on the other hand, we are not able to offer something special for the media. And when we tried working with some PR agencies, they've been going on about trying to get something exclusive for the media. And all I could do was to shrug and tell them that, sorry, but this content will be available for weeks, if not months, before the main batch release. This is the model that is working for us right now. The size of the circles basically corresponds with the amount of work that I need to put in. The feature trailer is something that we're doing in-house, so that's why it looks like it looks. The main time sink that we have is the paid influencer campaign, which I will finally go to discuss in a second. But the rest is pretty basic. You are probably doing all of that. Yeah. And to explain that on an example, that would be update 2, our most successful post-launch update so far, and the most successful marketing campaign so far. It was released after the first year of the early access, resulting in 52,000 copies sold and 60,000 wish lists in just 2 weeks. It spent quite some time on the experimental branch, but I think this is one of the reasons that it was so successful. We had to rework some features before we deemed them ready for the main branch release. And we are talking about some visual and really easy to explain features that you can see on the right. These are the beaver bots, so basically mechanical beavers that work 24/7, as well as the full-on terraforming. Before we just had the dynamite that could blow chunks of the map, and now it was also possible to put up the new hills, mountains, whatever. For that, we had 20 sponsored influencers. This time, we scaled down on the size of the influencers because we've learned that if we go with influencers that are too big, the risk is that they are being watched for their persona, for their wit or whatever, and not exactly for the games that they are showing. And we went with English, German, and French influencers. And this is the current cap that we typically look for, aside from some outliers and VIPs that we have. We also had the first regional marketing campaigns. That would be Japan and China. I know that this is an issue for many indie developers, but Japan, China, Asia in general are the territories that we are having some trouble getting to. We managed to contact some individual influencers, but it's really difficult for us. So we contacted local agencies to help us with that, and they did their part. But let's just say that we are not working with them anymore. Yeah, and we also decided to go AAA route. by having a takeover at Eurogamer, and I think some other media as well. That worked for us, but considering the amount of work that we needed to devote to that, we haven't repeated that yet, but that's also an option. And to go over the update 3, 4, and 5 quickly. Update 3 was released 3 months later, and it wasn't a very successful one, mostly because of the fact that it was not as content focused, it was just quality of life stuff. And we also tried a weird approach of postponing the paid campaign to match the Christmas and winter sale, even though the update was released over a week earlier. So it didn't work. Update 4, however, had some great content changes and the quality of life that people actually really wanted. And that would be like 80% higher FPS. We removed the district limits, which was the #1 complaint since launch. And this resulted in a second highest wishlist picked so far. And good sales despite all the Diablo 4 E3 talked in the media. And update 5 is being tested right now. You can see it on the bottom GIF on the left. That's in lava. That's toxic waste. I was wondering if anyone would laugh at this 15-year-old meme. That's the expected result. So these are our relations with the influencers. Why do we think that Timberborn is good for influencers? It offers high replayability, but understanding the game takes some time. And this is one of the reasons that it's more difficult, we think, for the game journalists to pick up the game. This is my understanding of this as a former journalist. When you have so many games to choose from and you are under this constant pressure, it's more difficult to devote the 5 hours or so to understand Timberborn and its strengths. And influencers, I think, are ready to do that. Because if a game is successful, they do not care whether it was released a year ago or so. They can just keep churning out the content. And when they devote that time, they will realize that our USPs, so the water physics, the terraforming, the vertical architecture, can really impress their viewers. And because we have the deadly droughts, it allows for some dramatic comebacks that are great when you're doing YouTube and Twitch content. Because we have a game with beavers, some of them are really cute, Timberborn appeals to a wider audience, and people love beavers in general. I'm not sure if the Against the Storm team is here, but I love Against the Storm. So all I can say is that I wish that all indie devs would be as lucky as we were with some of the content creators, such as Real Civil Engineer that you can see on the right. I love this guy. And Bob Lennon, who is from France. I love him too, but I have no idea what he's talking about. And by nurturing good relations with them, I mean, I think Real Civil Engineer picked up the game on his own. And when we saw his 300,000 views video, we just fell in love with him. And we tried to nurture that love with some sponsorships. Bob Lennon, on the other hand, was someone I found on my own as I was looking for similar content in France. So his first Timberborn video was a paid one. But since then, I think he recorded like 20 more videos, each of them getting more than 100,000 views. So you can imagine the return of investment here. As for the paid campaigns, We always try to pair them with updates and discounts. We tried running the paid campaigns that were not tied to an update or that were running when there was no discount. And we're not doing that anymore. Our choice for the paid campaigns so far has been roughly 50-50 YouTube and Twitch. And we are trying to get about 1/3 of existing creators that we can trust and that we know that will deliver great content, and 2/3 of new creators. And here's some sage wisdom from me on how to work with influencers. What we've found out that works best is that we should spread out our campaigns between Thursday and Saturday so that it boosts the weekend traffic. And we are being very careful with the request to the creators. We always make sure to use to ask them to use the store page links with UTMs, because this is currently the only way Steam allows you to track the sales. We ask them to play or link the trailer, making sure that it is safe for restreaming. We are okay offering them possible talking points, making sure that they understand that this is not something that is required from them. However, we don't want to censor them. So even when they ask me if I want to review the content, I often say no, because I trust them, and they are very happy with this. And this is the shit that I hate. And I know that many people do not care about certificates of tax residency. We do, and I hate it. I don't go into the details, but you should probably look that up. Basically, we are chasing our creators, asking them to provide this shit, and they don't want to do it because it's a trouble for them and for us. But you really should do it under the current law. And here's a very secret. Here are the very secret numbers. For us, the average rates we expect from English-speaking creators are about $1 per hour per viewer on Twitch, and $50 per 1,000 views on YouTube. Here are some tools that we are using to work with influencers. Keymailer, which is probably the most popular tool. I'm not a fan of it. We are okay with getting the top banner slot, which costs, I think, currently it's $400. You should book it at least 2 weeks in advance. And it's good because when the creators go to the Keymailer front page, they will see your banner. You should be aware of scammers, however. On Wovit, it's a similar thing. It's a going rate of $200 per month. But we think that even if a single creator with 400 concurrent viewers on Twitch picks it up, it's worth it. So it's mostly hassle-free. You just need to set up a campaign and it's displayed for them. However, you should be aware of scammers. On Lurkit, which is the tool that you can see on the left up, it's great if you want to hire smaller creators with a total budget of $5,000, for example. This is the newest tool of them all, but ever since we tried it for, I think, update 2, we've been using it. It's really great if you want to have this handpicked selection of creators with smaller numbers. It's kind of it's a little bit of burden because you need to review their offers. You can make counter offers, so it's a pretty manual process. Contrary to Keymailer and Wovit, which can be basically check, approve, they all get the key. But we really like it. You should be aware of scammers, however. And Twitch bounties. It's a great tool if you are in a situation similar to ours when we launched the game, when we really needed to get more influencers on board, like for tomorrow. you are required to use increments of 5,000 USD, so it's not the cheapest thing. But all you have to do is just click a few checkboxes in the campaign, submit it, and they will get it up the next day. However, I would suggest that you pick relevant games and use payout caps for this service, because while you are not exposed to scammers, because it's a Twitch service, you can experience something that we did, which is what I would call 1 hour whales. That's a typo. Shit. Basically, if you do not set a list of relevant games, and if you do not ask the Twitch rep to set a payout cap, what you risk is that you may end up with some big names from other genres picking up your game for exactly 1 hour after streaming their own main game for 2 hours or so, so the viewership numbers are inflated. They will pick it up, play it for 1 hour, and as soon as that 1 hour timer finishes, they will drop it, and they will consume, I don't know, 70% of your budget, something like that. And this is just burned money, I think. We had those in the past, especially at launch, when we just didn't care enough to set up the list of relevant games, because Twitch bounties allow you to pick a list of games that the creator needs to have played in the past 90 days, I think. If you don't do that, it is open to everyone on Twitch bounties. So we had those big Counter-Strike and Hearthstone players picking up Timberborn, and then nothing. Like some small creators with 50 average viewers or something like that. So while Twitch does not share the exact numbers of how the budget was spent, it was clear to us that those big names picked up the game only to not give a shit about it anymore after that 1 hour. And I imagine that not many of the viewers would be willing to pick up Timberborn after such an extensive session. And I'm saying that because Salignome is the final tool that I would like to recommend. It's an amazing tool for tracking the viewership on Twitch. It allows you to look up the data from the past, compare it between the games. You can also download the spreadsheets to make it a more systematic approach. And we saw that those 1 hour whales would just have that viewership climb up, play our game, the viewership drops down, but the average number is still high, so that they get paid more, and they go back to Counter-Strike or some other game. So what do we do between the major updates? I want to point out that wishlists, it's another typo. Wishlists are still relevant. Even though some of our wishlists are as old as 4 years old, we still deem them relevant, which you will see in a second. But this is the graph that shows how our wishlist shaped since launch. As expected, the updates are the biggest winners here, as well as the seasonal sales run by Steam. And yeah, you can see the cursor. Update 4 was our second largest wishlist spike we had, which is how we think that the exciting new features are more, which is why we think that the exciting new features are much better than just the quality of life stuff, which is here. And here are some numbers, how our wishlist shaped. The numbers from the last 3 months are not that impressive, simply because our last major update was in May. But with how game-changing update 5 is going to be. We expect that to be another huge spike when it releases. And I won't tell you when it releases because I don't know. And yeah, wishlists still convert. This is a graph from June, and this is a graph from July. I will make this very advanced presentation right now. You may or may not see that the yellow line is going up, basically all across the graph. It's possible to calculate the conversion rate for wishlists based on when do they convert compared to when they were added. It's a little bit tricky, but Steam has that data, so it's possible to combine that into graphs like this. And for us, the lifetime conversion rate is over 25%, which is great because the Steam average is significantly lower than that. And we are observing the trend that whenever we run the week-long sales, whenever the seasonal sales are up, whenever we have the sales tied to our updates, the old wish lists, even pre-launch wish lists, will still convert. So you should not neglect the importance of older wish lists and basically just the wish list generating efforts that you have after launch. And here's our top secret discounting strategy. Right now, we are not dipping below 20%. As I said, this is the threshold that you should probably aim for if you want Steam to send out the emails. I was kind of worried at some point that when we message people about our game like every month or so, which is how often you can go with a week-long sale, they will somehow get angry at that, but it's not happening. So we are basically participating in all seasonal sales. We are trying to get into most, if not all, store-wide events with front page featuring. It is crucial. We are going with week-long discounts as often as possible. I guess I need to speed this up. I'll discuss this in a second. Yeah, TikTok works. This is something new. YouTube was our go-to tool, but right now we have found out that TikTok ads, as long as your profile is active enough, is about twice as good as YouTube in terms of CPC. So I highly recommend you go with the TikTok ads. This is something very close to my heart. This is the Earth Appreciation Festival, which is a custom sale that we curated. The first edition happened last year, and in May 2023 we had the second edition. This is a huge topic, probably for another presentation, but the most important thing is that if you are able to create something with other devs, I would highly recommend that. You need to make sure that you start your planning as early as 3 months ahead, because for events like this, you need to make sure that you have the front page coverage. If you don't, you probably will not have a success with this. It involves lots, and I mean lots of work, and the result is okay. What we did both times, we had the charity cut. We offered 15% of the profits to go a Polish charity. So after that cut, our results were similar to a week-long sale. So not great, but considering the amount of networking that we had and the ability to do something good, I know this sounds corny, but I mean it, I think it's still worth it. Just make sure that you have that front page featuring, so you need to get to Steam at least 3 months ahead. For our first edition, they wouldn't promise us the front page feature. Until the very last day, they would just not answer this and say they will see. And when I woke up on Saturday, our sale was on the front page, so I was ecstatic. Without that, we wouldn't have the next edition, I guess. Reviews and review bombing. This is something that we have observed because our game continues to float between 94 and 96% of positive reviews. As soon as we go to that 95% threshold, we think our traffic increases by about 20%. At least this is what we thought before Steam disabled the analytics. Yeah, responding to bad reviews works. And the famous review bombing incident we had. When Russia invaded Ukraine, we made a post where we when we announced that we are making a donation to Polish humanitarian action, and to do something more symbolic, we added the sunflowers to the game, which are the national flower of Ukraine, and we also added the support of the Ukrainian language support. And this is the result. We had a huge wave of negative reviews. What else can we do between the major updates? We are doing the community activations. For us, this is perfect for the content drops between the major updates. I need to speed this up. So basically, we are doing showcases for player-made artwork, maps, mods. We are also running the build a map contests with prize money, and people love it. It increases the activity on Discord and other channels when we don't have that major update coming up. Yeah, Discord still works. I won't get into much detail here, but for us, Discord is the main hub for all stuff involving the players. So the contests, the discussions about the experimental branch. Discord gives you all these possibilities that you are probably aware of, such as roles and emojis, whatever. And it's a perfect place for beaver memes. Yes, this is, I think, the last thing I have. This is the community activation that we did last year. We basically took an old shanty and turned it into a beaver song, with players singing the verses and developers and other players singing in the chorus. It was an absolutely lovely thing to work on. However, it didn't mean much in terms of sales. I think after making all that, we reached the week-long sale-like results, and we had 20,000 views across 3 videos on our YouTube. So considering the cost and time involved, it was not worth it. But I loved it as a way to bring the community together. And I think I see Zofia, our composer, yeah, she's waving to us. She made that adaptation. It's absolutely lovely. And that's it, I guess. There are some other tools that we are using, such as bundles with other cool games, such as Rift Breaker, The Wandering Village. We are joining the indie competitions. We're adding new storefronts, such as Haybox in China. We are doing the store page updates. We have recently made this cool new trailer with Ellen Newlands as the voice actor, and people love it. Yeah. I won't wrap this up. I think we'll go to the QA. If anyone has any questions, thank you very much. There's someone with a question, I think. But there's nobody with a microphone.
Thank you, Michał. It was a great talk, great presentation. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First of which is, how did eventually the Asia adventure, so to speak, finish for you? Did you manage to reach players in Japan and China, and how did it went for you? And the second question is, if you don't mind sharing with us the rough numbers, how much have you spent on paid influencers in total? Just wondering about the budget that you have.
I start with the easy question, hoping that the time will run out before the second one. basically, the Asia adventure ended up with the Japanese agency getting us very little views in YouTube videos. So it turns out it's really difficult to offer something to the Japanese YouTubers and Twitch players if you don't have anything exclusive. At least that's their excuse. And we ended up cutting the cooperation with them because we found out that it's much better to just contact the influencers in Japan individually. And as for China, I think the agency did some work on that. We had a little spike of sales, but with budgets going in tens of thousands of USD, it was not worth it. Right now, we are cooperating with Heybox, which is a Chinese Steam reseller, and they are basically acting as our marketing agency in a way. They are also reselling their keys on other storefronts in China, and we are much more happier about that because they are running our social media accounts, which is something that should be done if you don't want to the Asian players to feel ignored, which is how they felt when we are just running our accounts in English. We have that dedicated person that posts on our behalf on Weibo, on other channels, and it works much better for us. And it's also much easier to manage when you do not need to go back and forth with the contracts with individual creators. But yeah, the China is still an unexplored area for us. As for the second question, I'm not sure I'm able to share the numbers. Yeah, what I can say, I think for launch on Twitch bounties alone, we spent, I think, 30,000 USD just on Twitch bounties. And the total amount for launch was that multiplied a few times. I'm sorry. I don't want to get fired after this talk. Any other questions? There is someone there.
Yes, thank you for the talk. I wanted to ask you about the demo, more specifically, how to market it, how to get to the highly played demos on Steam, and maybe you can give other recommendations for the game itself, how to prepare a good demo, what to include, how long should it be, and so on.
Just to be quick about it, I think what you could do, you could launch it before the Steam Next Fest, if that's your goal, to make sure that it works okay. We had our first paid influencers asked to play the demo, basically do a playthrough of the demo. And what is really, really important, you should include the buttons like wishlist now, some buttons that allow the player to leave the feedback, so that it's not just in vain. Because it was great that we had that high number, but if it weren't for those green wishlist now buttons placed all around the game, it wouldn't mean much.
And one more thing, if possible. Some games are making free prologues instead of demos. What do you think about that? Is it worth it?
I don't know how to answer really, because our game is very story light, so it's just a sandbox. So I can't really comment on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? That's it, I guess. Oh, there's one.
Hello, thank you for the call once again. Just a quick question about contacting influencers. Would you say that it's a better idea to immediately start by saying, hey, we can offer you a certain amount of money for this video, or do you think that you want to start by contacting them organically that, hey, there's a cool game, and then if you get no response, you say, hey, we can pay you for covering this cool game?
Answer B. there's a question. Yeah.
I'm sure you get this a lot, but how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
No answer.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it, I guess. Thank you very much.